Good evening, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. There are 2 hours and 41 minutes until the ceasefire begins between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The IDF actually just issued a evacuation warning for a building in Beirut. Central Beirut, not the southern suburbs. Look. 6 minutes ago, urgent warning to residents in the Beirut area. Basically, get away from these buildings, marked in red. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll put that up on the screen again for you to get it fixed here. Boop, 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 boop. See that right there? The red building near the Beirut High School for Girls. The red building near it. Or red buildings. The red buildings. So, sounds like Israel's going to do another strike shortly in central Beirut. Just 2 hours and 40 minutes before the ceasefire. No, the ceasefire hasn't officially taken effect yet. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Maybe I'll put the third Beirut shot up. I think that might be the thing to do, rather than the northern border, because we're expecting to see a strike in Beirut. So I'm going to make this say Beirut View 3. We can always go back to the northern border if we need to. We got 3 views for you. Smaller. It's so big. I might be able to brighten that up a little bit, that one. That'd be bright. How's that? I'll brighten a little bit. So dark. Brightened it a little bit for you. I might brighten this one just a little bit up here. Just a little? Yeah, that's a little better. So again, Israel issuing an evacuation order for Beirut just around 2.5 hours before a ceasefire is supposed to begin. Hearing a little gunfire. Timur Azari of Reuters said there's gunfire warning people to leave. I'll tell you again what he said. Timur Azari said gunfire heard in the area to warn people to leave near that evacuation order in central Beirut, not even the southern suburbs. A quick thanks to Sparky for your support, to Bob NL, thank you, a lethal old fart, who thinks it's going to be a failed ceasefire. Also, Austin Caton, our new member. Thanks to our YouTube moderators like Danny James and Ruth Krafasi, Roberts Mayqueen, Sabrina, and our Linda Belk and Larry moderate for us on X. Sorry we can't be on Twitch today. There's something I'm trying to work out on Twitch. We are on Twitch. On Kick. I'm trying to, well, there's one thing we got to do before we can get back on Kick, so I'm trying to take care of that soon. Over on Twitch, A Moment of Lovely, I Got That Fire, and Surly Dev are moderating on Twitch. And on Facebook. And more Gunfire. That might be, again, Gunfire, possibly in Beirut, telling people to get away from the area where there's supposed to be an airstrike. I'm not sure. Kay Lowry Body, Ronald Egnor, Margaret Riley, moderating on Facebook. This is not a ceasefire with Hamas, who is holding the hostages in Gaza. This is a ceasefire. And Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th. This is a ceasefire between Hezbollah in Lebanon and Israel. Hezbollah started firing on northern Israel the day after the October 7th attack. I'll get you an update here, but let me just, first I want to just make sure I'm not missing anything pressing. So give me a second. Let me check a couple things here. Oh, another Israel. I think there's another Israeli warning. Is there another one? Or just this one? Let's see. New Israeli evacuation order for the southern suburbs of Beirut. Another one. And another new Israeli evacuation order for the southern suburbs of Beirut. "2.5 hours before ceasefire start time." They just posted another one. Look, I'll show you. Southern suburb area. Near, it's for in and around this building or buildings, right there. Near Webby Mobilia, it says. Hold on. So we currently have an evacuation order in central Beirut and an evacuation order in the southern suburbs of Beirut. So we are expecting to see some more airstrikes 2.5 hours before the ceasefire start. Kurt says, "I'll be surprised if there is a ceasefire." Well, Netanyahu has already announced it. Netanyahu did a big announcement. Biden did a big announcement. I found the location on Google Maps of the new evacuation order. Let's see if I can. I think I found it here. Let's see. 1, 2, and then that one. Is it the small one or the big one? One top. Is that it? One top? One, second one above, and then the bottom of that. It's a little hard to see. I think it's that building right there. That's what it looks like. Okay, so if I'm reading this right, okay, here's Google Maps. I'm going to show you where one of the evacuation orders is for. Hang on. Hang on. So if we go, there's Beirut, and there's the airport, and we're talking a bit north, about less than about a mile north of the airport here. If you zoom in here, we're talking about this building right there. That's the one that's red on the evacuation order. So that building apparently is going to be struck by Israel, right there where my pointer is. That's the one on the evacuation notice, right there. That's the one in the southern suburbs, about a mile north of the airport. In the middle of these buildings, right in the middle of these buildings. All right, and then the other one, Mike Zink said they hit a building about an hour ago. Yeah, I mean, earlier today we covered a large number of strikes in the southern suburbs of Beirut. They have launched a bunch of them today in the Beirut area. I know at least one in central Beirut. And then the other one they mentioned, let's see if I can find that. That's near the Beirut High School for Girls. I don't know if I can find that one on Google Maps. I don't know exactly where that's. Oh, St. George Syriac Catholic Cathedral. Can I find that? It's near there. I think I found it. Okay, is that it? I think I found the building that the central Beirut building that they're targeting. Two buildings, it looks like. Right here. Right here. So if you look here, there's Beirut right here. There's Beirut. The airport is down there. There's Beirut. And if we zoom in, what we see, I think it's these two right, let me make sure. I think it's these two right here. Let me see again. Hang on. 1, 2, it's one over and down. Yeah, if I'm reading that right, it looks to me that I mean, you can look at their actual announcement, but it looks to me like this right in here. I don't know if this is two buildings or one building, but right here. That's the one that they said they have in red. Hearing some gunfire too. Maybe telling people to evacuate. So we have an evacuation warning in central Beirut, evacuation warning in the southern suburbs. We are expecting some new strikes. Thank you to Joanna Crompton, by the way, and Aaron Aware, our member, Frigid Drone Aviator, Martin Gingrich. No, Israel, I don't believe, has soldiers in central Beirut. I mean, I don't know what kind of special forces they have or whatever, but they don't have a regular soldiers there, to my knowledge, in central Beirut. Thank you, Martin. Thank you also, Janice McConnell, for your support. Ah. Tis what it is thinks if the focus becomes Iran, the ceasefire won't last long. Well, I think you mean like the maybe the relative calm. Now Israel is still fighting in fighting in Gaza. But I mean, in theory, this ceasefire could keep going even if Israel-Iran hostilities heat up. I'm going to give you some details about this. Basically, the idea of the ceasefire is that Israel pulls its forces from southern Lebanon, and Hezbollah removes any forces they still have in southern Lebanon. And the Lebanese army sends thousands of forces into southern Lebanon to make sure Hezbollah doesn't go back in there. And in theory, Israel can then move 60,000 people back to the northern border, where they haven't been able to live while Hezbollah conducts strikes on Israel. That's the basic idea. I'll get you here. I'll read you something about this. AP says Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah agreed to ceasefire after nearly 14 months of fighting. The ceasefire, starting at 4 a.m. local time, would mark the first major step toward the ending the region-wide unrest triggered by Hamas's attack on Israel on last year on October 7th. But it does not address the devastating war in Gaza, where Hamas is still holding dozens of hostages, and the conflict is more intractable. Hours before the ceasefire with Hezbollah was to take effect, this was earlier today, we were covering this, Israel carried out the most intense wave of strikes in Beirut and its southern suburbs since the start of the conflict and issued a record number of evacuation warnings. We were on earlier when they issued 20 evacuation warnings at once, basically, roughly at once, and carried out 20 airstrikes in 2 minutes. Another huge airstrike shook Beirut shortly after the ceasefire was announced. There appeared to be lingering disagreement, says AP, over whether Israel would have the right to strike Hezbollah if it believed Hezbollah had violated the ceasefire agreement, something Prime Minister Netanyahu insisted was part of the deal, but which Lebanese and Hezbollah officials have rejected. President Biden, speaking in Washington, called the agreement good news and said his administration would make a renewed push for a ceasefire in Gaza. We might play you that in a little bit. AP says Netanyahu presented the ceasefire proposal to his cabinet ministers after a televised address in which he listed accomplishments against Israel's enemies across the region. Netanyahu said a ceasefire with Hezbollah would further isolate Hamas in Gaza and allow Israel to focus on its main enemy, Iran. He said, if Hezbollah breaks the agreement and tries to rearm, we will attack. The ceasefire deal calls for a 2-month initial halt in fighting and would require Hezbollah to end its armed presence in a broad swath of southern Lebanon, while Israeli troops would return to their side of the border. Thousands of additional Lebanese troops and UN peacekeepers would deploy in southern Lebanon, and an international panel headed by the U.S. would monitor compliance. Biden said the deal was designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. Hezbollah has said it accepts the proposal, but a senior official with the group said Tuesday it had not seen the agreement in its final form. Thanks to Todd USA, our new member. Fred Witherow. Thank you, Fred, for your support. But again, Israel has said if Hezbollah is threatening it, or rearming, or whatever, or moving back into southern Lebanon, if they break the terms, Israel has said they will attack Hezbollah again. We are hearing some sounds of gunfire. Thank you, Cecilia from Norway, for your support. AP says under the ceasefire deal, Hezbollah would be required to move its forces north of the Litani River, which in some places is about 20 miles north of the border. We are expecting a couple strikes, some strikes by Israel in Beirut in the southern suburbs of Beirut, after evacuation warnings. The Washington Post says the agreement is for a 60-day cessation of hostilities with plans for a coordinated withdrawal of Israeli soldiers and deployment of the Lebanese army in southern Lebanon to restore Lebanese sovereignty south of the Litani River and prevent the use of weapons by Hezbollah militants there, according to officials familiar with the matter. The aim is to work toward a more long-term, durable solution during the ceasefire, the officials said. The Washington Post also says that prominent Israeli right-wing politician and National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir called the decision a grave mistake to approve the ceasefire. He said that the ceasefire deal would not be enough to return residents of northern Israel to their homes and would not deter Hezbollah and would cost Israel a historic opportunity to deliver a severe blow to Hezbollah and bring them to their knees. I should show you what Biden said. Hold on a second here. Maybe we can put that up on the screen in a little box or something. I'm going to play you that. I'm going to make it small. I'll make it small. I'll make it really small because I don't want to get in the way of anything. Put it right there. Let's hear what Biden had to say earlier. We're going to play Biden from earlier. Hopefully this works.
From the Middle East. Today I have some good news to report from the Middle East. I just spoke with the Prime Minister of Israel and Lebanon. I'm pleased to announce that their governments have accepted the United States proposal to end the devastating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. I want to thank President Macron of France for his partnership in reaching this moment. For nearly 14 months, a deadly conflict raged across the border that separates Israel and Lebanon. A conflict that began the day after the October 7 attack by Hamas on Israel. Hours later, at 2 a.m. in the morning, Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations backed by Iran attacked Israel in support of Hamas. Let's be clear, Israel did not launch this war. The Lebanese people did not seek that war either, nor did the United States. Over the past year, including the days immediately following October the 7th, I directed the U.S. military to flow assets and capabilities into the region, including aircraft carriers, fighter squadrons, and sophisticated air defense battery, to defend Israel and deter our common enemy at critical moments. Since the war with Hezbollah began, over 70,000 Israelis have been forced to live as refugees in their own country, helplessly watching their homes, their businesses, their communities as they're bombarded and destroyed. And over 300,000 Lebanese people have also been forced to live as refugees in their own country. And a war imposed on them by Hezbollah. All told, this has been the deadliest conflict between Israel and Hezbollah in decades. How many of Hezbollah's senior leaders are dead, including its longtime leader, Nasrallah? And Israel has destroyed Hezbollah's terrorist infrastructure in southern Lebanon as well, including miles of sophisticated tunnels, which were prepared for an October 7 style terrorist attack in northern Israel. But lasting security for the people of Israel and Lebanon cannot be achieved only on the battlefield. And that's why I directed my team to work with the governments of Israel and Lebanon to forge a ceasefire, to bring the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah to a close. Under the deal reached today, effective at 4 a.m. tomorrow local time, the fighting across the Lebanese-Israeli border will end. This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. What is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed, I emphasize, will not be allowed to threaten the security of Israel again. Over the next 60 days, the Lebanese army and state security forces will deploy and take control of their own territory once again. Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure in southern Lebanon will not be allowed to be rebuilt. And over the next 60 days, Israel will gradually withdraw its remaining forces. And civilians on both sides will soon be able to safely return to their communities and begin to rebuild their homes, their schools, their farms, their businesses, and their very lives. We're determined this conflict will not be just another cycle of violence. And so the United States, with the full support of France and our other allies, has pledged to work with Israel and Lebanon to ensure that this arrangement is fully implemented, the agreement totally implemented. You know, there will be no U.S. troops deployed in southern Lebanon. This is consistent with my commitment to the American people to not put U.S. troops in combat in this conflict. Instead, we, along with France and others, will provide the necessary assistance to make sure this deal is implemented fully and effectively. Let me be clear. If Hezbollah or anyone else breaks the deal and poses a direct threat to Israel, then Israel retains the right to self-defense, consistent with international law, just like any country when facing a terrorist group pledged to that country's destruction. At the same time, this deal supports Lebanon's sovereignty, and so it heralds a new start for Lebanon, a country that I've seen most of over the years, a country with rich history and culture. If fully implemented, this deal can put Lebanon on a path toward a future that's worthy of its significant past. And just as the Lebanese people deserve a future of security and prosperity, so do the people of Gaza. They too deserve an end to the fighting and displacement. The people of Gaza have been through hell. Their world's absolutely shattered. Far too many civilians in Gaza have suffered, far too much. And Hamas has refused for months and months to negotiate a good faith ceasefire and a hostage deal. And so now Hamas has a choice to make. Their only way out is to release the hostages, including American citizens, which they hold. And in the process, bring an end to the fighting, which would make possible a surge of humanitarian relief. Over the coming days, the United States will make another push with Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Israel, and others to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. With the hostages released and the end of the war without Hamas in power, that becomes possible. As for the broader Middle East region, today's announcement brings us closer to realizing the affirmative agenda that I've been pushing forward during my entire presidency. A vision for the future of the Middle East where it's at peace and prosperous and integrated across borders. A future where Palestinians have a state of their own, one that fulfills its people's legitimate aspirations, one that cannot threaten Israel or harbor terrorist groups with backing from Iran. A future where Israelis and Palestinians enjoy equal measures of security, prosperity, and yes, dignity. To that end, the United States remains prepared to conclude a set of historic deals with Saudi Arabia, to include a security pact and economic assurances, together with a credible pathway for establishing a Palestinian state and the full normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, a desire they both have. I believe this agenda remains possible, and in my remaining time in office, I'll work tirelessly to advance this vision for an integrated, secure, and prosperous region, all of which strengthens America's national security. Getting all this done will require making some hard choices. Israel has been bold on the battlefield. Iran and its proxies have paid a very heavy price. Now Israel must be bold in turning tactical gains against Iran and its proxies into a coherent strategy that secure Israel's long-term safety and advances a broader peace and prosperity in the region. Today's announcement is a critical step in advancing that vision, and so I applaud the courageous decision made by the leaders of Lebanon and Israel to end the violence. It reminds us that peace is possible. Say that again, peace is possible. As long as that is the case, I will not for a single moment stop working to achieve it. God bless you all. Sorry to keep you waiting so long. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
All right, that was President Biden today announcing the ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel, which starts in 2 hours and 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Israel has issued a couple of evacuation orders, one for central Beirut, one for the southern suburbs of Beirut. So we are expecting some Israeli airstrikes before then, probably shortly. I'm going to be taking your comments on the air. Quick thanks to Desi for subscribing on Twitch. A Moment of Lovely for your support on Twitch. Aaron McCune, thanks for your support on Twitch. See if I have any updates for you here. I will post a poll question in the chat. Will the ceasefire hold for the initial 60 days? We did a poll earlier today, and most of our audience who voted said there was not going to be a ceasefire. MIB says ceasefire with Lebanon will hold, but watch Iran. Fagan says the chat is never wrong. Frisian drone aviators said Iranian army posts on X they will attack Israel. I don't know what you're referring to. I sometimes see people referring to accounts on X that don't seem to me to be official accounts and claiming they're official accounts. So I haven't seen that from any kind of official account. Maybe there was, I'm not sure. But I have seen some accounts that aren't official, which pose as official accounts. But anyways, look. We don't know if Iran is going to ever respond to Israel's attack on Iran in late October. So we'll have to see what happens there. Let me show you some of the poll results here. On YouTube, 85% of the viewers in the poll said the ceasefire will not hold for the initial 60 days. And on Twitch, 77% said the ceasefire would not hold for the initial 60 days. So you guys are pessimistic. Our viewer Yervantalo says they live in Beirut and that there were around 50 airstrikes there today. I wouldn't be surprised because, I mean, we were on twice earlier today and we covered 20 in one and how many in the other? What, 7 or 8 or something? So we probably covered between 25 and 30 of them when we were on the air. Stay safe there. Yervantalo. All right, thanks for voting in our poll. Most of you said the ceasefire will not hold for the initial 60 days. We'll have to see. Michael Lauzon asked what happens if someone breaks a ceasefire. Well, I mean, that has to be worked out by the parties. If one side breaks it one day, maybe it still holds after that. You know, we just have to see what happens. I have to see how everybody reacts. Would one rocket cause the whole ceasefire collapse? I don't know about that. I'm assuming if Hezbollah launched one rocket, Israel might launch a couple airstrikes, and then it goes back to being a ceasefire again. Maybe something like that. So we'll have to see. No Dicto thinks it's not a ceasefire, it's a truce. Well, I mean, that just depends on how you're defining the words. Clearly, the major news outlets I've seen are using the word ceasefire, so they just might be using it differently than you are, which is fine. It's just, you know, I think the issue is that you have different definitions than these various parties. No Dicto Simpliciter allowed thinks it's a truce because it's generally short-term and can be used for various purposes such as negotiation, humanitarian aid, or simply a break in hostilities. Well, this is, I mean, you heard the president. This is intended to be the start of a permanent stopping of hostilities. What this is not supposed to be is like, let's take a couple weeks off and then the fighting resumes again. I mean, the whole point of this thing is to be the basis for a permanent cessation, at least of this conflict. So this is not, you know, like last year, at the end of the year in Gaza, there were some times where they would, take a couple days or something like that and say no fighting for a day or a couple days and maybe we'll exchange a few hostages. That's different in nature than this. But this is not supposed to be that. This is supposed to be, there's an initial 60-day period, but it's supposed to continue at the end. It's not supposed to be 60 days and then go back to fighting. Thank you for writing in no Dicto Simpliciter allowed. I think it's a good point that there's different kinds of agreements, but this is supposed to be the basis for a lasting cessation of hostilities. Reuters reports that a senior U.S. official told reporters that the U.S. will work with the Lebanese army to deter potential violations of a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, but there will not be U.S. combat troops in the area. The official called the ceasefire deal a game changer that would show Hamas militants in Gaza that the conflict there in Lebanon and in Lebanon were de-linked. For pretty much the entire conflict in the past year or so, Hezbollah had been saying that they would only reach a ceasefire with Israel when there was an Israeli ceasefire with Hamas in Gaza, but their position eventually changed. Reuters said the text of the deal has not been published, and Reuters has not seen a draft of it. Now, Reuters calls it both a ceasefire and a truce. Reuters says Israel and Hezbollah are set to implement a ceasefire as part of a U.S. proposed deal for a 60-day truce. So, I mean, people use these words differently at different times. Sounds like they're saying people, it's, again, I don't want to just know that these words can be used differently. President Biden said this deal is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. Israeli Security Cabinet has approved it, and it will be put to the whole Israeli cabinet for review, says Reuters. Hezbollah approved it last week. The agreement is reportedly 5 pages long and includes 13 sections, according to a senior Lebanese political source. So Reuters says here are the key points in the deal. Halt to hostilities. The halt to hostilities is set to begin in 1 hour and 54 minutes, 4 a.m. local time. Israel is expected to stop carrying out any military operations against Lebanese territory, including against civilian and military targets and Lebanese state institutions through land, sea, and air. All armed groups in Lebanon, including Hezbollah and its allies, would halt operations against Israel. So hostilities stop in 1 hour and 54 minutes. Israeli troops will withdraw from southern Lebanon within 60 days. Biden said troops would gradually pull out and civilians on both sides of the border would be able to return home. Lebanon now expects Israeli troops to withdraw within the first month, according to Reuters. Hezbollah will pull north, and the Lebanese army will go into southern Lebanon. Hezbollah fighters will leave their positions in southern Lebanon to move north of the Litani River, which runs about 20 miles north of the border. Their withdrawal will not be public, a Lebanese source said. Hezbollah military facilities will be dismantled, but it's not clear whether they will take them apart or whether the fighters will take their weapons with them as they withdrew. The Lebanese army will deploy around 5,000 soldiers to the southern border. A Lebanese source told Reuters the deployment of the Lebanese soldiers to the southern border area is the first challenge. Then how to deal with the locals that want to return home to southern Lebanon, given the risks of unexploded ordnance. About 20-25% of the Lebanese population has been displaced by the Israeli strikes, many of them from South Lebanon, about 1.2 million people. Hezbollah sees the return of the displaced to their homes as a priority. Also, around tens of thousands displaced from northern Israel are expected to return home after. We'll see if they do. The agreement will be monitored by a bunch of different groups, including UN peacekeeping force in southern Lebanon, the Lebanese army, the Israeli army, the U.S., and France. Israel would be expected to flag possible breaches to the deal, and France and the U.S. together would determine whether a violation had taken place. That's obviously Hezbollah violations. Also, Israeli officials, says Reuters, have insisted that the Israeli army would continue to strike Hezbollah if Israel identified threats to its security, including transfers of weapons and military equipment to Hezbollah, if they try to bring weapons in to Lebanon. Netanyahu said in a televised address that Israel would strike Hezbollah if Hezbollah violated the deal. An Israeli official told Reuters Israel will use drones to monitor movements on the ground in Lebanon. Lebanese officials say that provision is not in the deal that it agreed to, and it would oppose any violations of its sovereignty. So that's a summary of the basic idea of the agreement. Hey, thanks to Ken Lance for your support. Ken says, hopefully ceasefire will hold, but I doubt it. Thanks, Tim747, for your support. I appreciate that. Thanks, Jesse's Girl, for the gift membership. 1 hour and 50 minutes. Warner Elliott thinks this will never hold. I give it 1 day, maybe. We are giving you live countdown coverage until the ceasefire. Christopher Reed says, I'd like to know the status of the hostages. I do not know how many of them are alive. Some of them are believed to be alive. That's in Gaza. Dr. McRib says, what are the penalties if Israel breaks the ceasefire? Well, I don't believe the deal specifically has penalties. But if Israel were to break the ceasefire, then Hezbollah would, I guess, feel that it's not bound to it either. And they would feel free to break it as well. Yes, Sea Turtle. Many reports say that Hezbollah has agreed to it. I believe some Lebanese politicians who had been negotiating on their behalf have said they agreed to it. I don't think that Hezbollah has explicitly made an explicit announcement that they agree to it, but maybe that's for political reasons or something. But there doesn't seem to be any question that Hezbollah has agreed to it. I don't think Biden and Netanyahu, for example, and the Lebanese government would all be going out and saying Hezbollah agreed to it if they weren't sure. I don't think that they're all saying that because someone told them that. I think they're sure. The situation is probably that for whatever reason, Hezbollah doesn't like to make a public statement about it. Maybe they, for whatever reason, maybe it's politics or something. Maybe they don't want to look, maybe they think it's bad look to say that they're not supporting Hamas anymore by striking Israel. I don't know, but, again, Netanyahu and Biden and the Lebanese government are not all going out there and saying there's a deal if they haven't talked to Hezbollah about it. Apple Tree says, if all goes well, we shouldn't be seeing anything when a ceasefire happens. That's true. That is true. Brian McDonald says Israel does not break ceasefires. That's what Brian said, our viewer. In the Wikipedia article about ceasefires, they say the immediate goal of a ceasefire is to stop violence, but the underlying purposes of ceasefires vary. As I said, people use these terms in different ways. Thanks to Long Armor for subscribing on Twitch. We are expecting some Israeli airstrikes in the Beirut area because they have issued an evacuation order for central Beirut and also for the Beirut southern suburbs. So I would certainly expect to see a couple airstrikes before then. We have not seen those yet. I'm seeing a report. Are there, hold on. Is there stuff going on elsewhere in Lebanon? Let me check Lebanese media. Yes, so I just saw a report from Al Jadid News 4 minutes ago. 4 minutes ago, Al Jadid News says there was an Israeli airstrike in the area of Tyre, Lebanon. I don't have a camera there I can show you, but again, 4 minutes ago, that is a report from Al Jadid News is of a new Israeli airstrike in Tyre, Lebanon. Also, now, there was no rocket alert. About 10 minutes ago, Al Jadid News claimed that there were rockets or missiles being fired towards Israel from Lebanon, but there was no rocket alert. We'll see what happens, as we are now at 1 hour and 43 minutes left. Michael Blaisdell thinks Israel has violated every ceasefire. Hey, thank you, Michael, for your support, by the way. Caden Zaferi says in 2008, Israel broke a ceasefire. Caden's one of our members. Thank you, Caden. Thanks, Midgers70S, for subscribing on Twitch. Hour and 42 minutes. Reuters reports oil settles down after Israel agrees to ceasefire deal with Hezbollah. Reuters says oil prices settled lower today, extending the previous day's losses in choppy trade after Israel agreed to a ceasefire deal with Hezbollah. Oil was down about 0.25% today. On Monday, oil prices fell more than $2, about 3%, following multiple reports that warring sides had agreed to certain terms of a ceasefire. Also, Reuters says Biden to push for Gaza ceasefire after Israel-Lebanon deal. Could there be a ceasefire in Hamas with Hamas next? Between Israel and Hamas, a hostage deal perhaps? Reuters says Biden said today his administration was pushing for an elusive ceasefire deal in Gaza, and it's possible that Saudi Arabia and Israel could normalize relations. Hassel Dahaf says they want to end it so they can go after Iran. Netanyahu gave like a whole speech today, a televised speech. It was in Hebrew. It was posted with English subtitles. I'm not going to play it right now because it's not in English, but I'll post a link to Netanyahu's speech with English subtitles. I just posted a link in the chat. Oh, and I actually, I'm sorry, I can actually post, I think, a transcription of it. Yeah, I actually have a transcription, so I'll tell you some of the things that Netanyahu said. You can see Prime Minister's Office, statement by Netanyahu. So they have a whole, I'm not going to read whole thing, but some of the things Netanyahu said were, I promised you victory and we will achieve victory. We will complete the task of obliterating Hamas and bring home the hostages. Said, I'm determined to do anything needed to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. He said, I am determined to give our courageous soldiers every resource to keep them safe and bring us victory. He says, I observe all of the fronts simultaneously and see the broad picture. He said, if Hezbollah violates the agreement and tries to arm itself, we will attack. If Hezbollah tries to rebuild terrorist infrastructure near the border, we will attack. If Hezbollah launches a rocket, if it digs a tunnel, if it brings in a truck carrying rockets, we will attack, he said today, Netanyahu. He said, they tell me Hezbollah will be quiet for a year or two, grow stronger, and then attack us. But Hezbollah will be in violation of the agreement not only if it fires on us, it will be in violation of the agreement if it obtains weapons to fire at us in the future, and we will respond forcefully to any violation, he said. He says, I know there are people who don't believe we will do that, but many also didn't believe we would enter Gaza on the ground, and we did. He said, Netanyahu said today, why should we have a ceasefire now? Three main reasons. First, he said, to focus on the Iranian threat. The second is to give our forces a breather and replenish stocks, like weapons stocks. And the third reason is to separate the fronts and isolate Hamas. He said, Hamas, from the start of the war, Hamas was counting on Hezbollah to fight by its side. With Hezbollah out of the picture, Hamas is left on its own. We will increase the pressure on Hamas, and that will help us in our sacred mission of releasing our hostages. Anyways, again, if you want to read the whole text of the Prime Minister's speech, I will post this link in the chat for you. I was just reading you some of what Netanyahu said today. I just posted the link again in the chat. Poop Golem thinks this means Lebanon is forever occupied like Gaza now, one step closer to Greater Israel. Well, there will not be any Israeli forces in Lebanon. They are saying that if Hezbollah tries to rearm or violates the agreement in any way, they will attack them. Sandy Doggo thinks Hezbollah won't honor this. Crazy Yoda says, I hope it's true, but I have my doubts. One hour, 34 minutes. Michael asked about airstrikes tonight. Michael Lauzon. Right now, there are, I know of one Israeli evacuation warning in Beirut and one in the southern suburbs of Beirut. 2. That's less than the 20 that were, earlier today they issued 20 at once. So we're expecting to see some airstrikes, but not as many as earlier. If we even do. Maybe there won't be. I think it's raining there, possibly. Oh, was there a rocket? I think there might have been a rocket. Hold on a second. The IDF said, oh, where's this? Now, that was a while ago. No, they haven't posted anything new lately. Sorry. I don't have an update on that for you. I haven't seen any rocket alerts since we came on the air. Oh, hold on. I'm seeing a new announcement by the IDF. I think a drone might have fallen in Israel with no injuries. Let's see. I'm seeing some Telegram channels claim the IDF said this, but I have not seen an IDF statement saying that. If I do, I'll let you know. Just about an hour and a half. Hasseldahoff, our viewer, thinks that Iran will strike Israel when the ceasefire is in full effect. Eric thinks it's quiet, too quiet. There have been some other Israeli strikes reported in different parts of Lebanon. I'm not hearing that many, but I've heard some. Yeah, we did a poll earlier where most of you said it would not last for 60 days. Now, again, most of you also said there would be no ceasefire earlier today. But most of you think the ceasefire will not last 60 days. How about, I'll say, will there be a ceasefire with Hamas in the next 3 months? That is my question to you. Hamas and Gaza. Now that this deal is getting done. Robert McCandless thinks it won't last 1 day. By the way, I mean, there could be, you could have a rocket launched here or there, an Israeli airstrike here or there. That doesn't mean the ceasefire collapses. All right, so I asked, will there be a ceasefire with Hamas in the next 3 months? And we'll see what you guys said. 72% said no, 28% said yes on YouTube. How about over there on Twitch? Only 8% said yes on Twitch. 92% said no. Shelley says it's one front line less for a while. Israel can focus on Iran. Israel had an article recently about, Washington Post had an article recently about war fatigue in Israel. It's hurt the economy. You have some people a lot of reservists who've been fighting, who would normally just be, citizens, regular citizens doing jobs, doing non-military work. Let me read you a little about that. Hold on. Pull it up here. This article was from just a couple days ago in the Washington Post. They said, for example, they said Avi Kraus, a reservist in the Israeli military's elite Golani Brigade, said he spent his days inside Gaza exploding underground tunnels. At night, he would join other fathers in uniform on a sandy hill trying to get enough cell phone bars to FaceTime his infant daughter. His day job seemed like a distant memory. Early in the war, the brigade sent a letter to his company apologizing for drafting him but committing to no date for his full return. Being a soldier, the letter made clear was now his main calling. Kraus told the Washington Post, "Once upon a time I had my high-tech career and my family life, and I had to strike the balance." He has now spent 4 months battling Hamas militants in Gaza, preparing to return there next month. Oh no, he's preparing to return to Israel next month, I guess. I can't tell. He's either returning to Israel or going back there in the next month. He said, "Now I have to enter into that equation the fact that I am disappearing for weeks or months on end." And the Post said that Kraus's dilemma, or some version of it, is shared by some 80,000 Israeli reservists who are planning to leave or have already left families, jobs, and studies to serve on the front lines of Israel's grinding wars in Gaza and Lebanon. Increasingly, the Post said, some are choosing to not report for duty, putting further strain on an overextended military amid an ever-widening regional war. The Post says, historically, Israel has maintained a small standing army relying on reservists to fill out its ranks during a series of short-lived wars. But this conflict has been the longest conflict, Israel's longest conflict in its history, says the Post. In the early months of the war, about 350,000 Israelis were called up to serve, a staggering figure in a country of less than 10 million. I mean, roughly speaking, that would be about 10 million people in the U.S. were called up. It's about 1 out of every 30 people in the country. So, you know, one benefit of less fighting for Israel is that some of these reservists can go back to their daily lives. That'll help the economy, for example. It'll help them. Also in this article by the Post, they said small businesses are shuttering, startups are losing capital, and potentially successful companies are thinking about relocating. There's burnout, said Shmulik Moskowitz, a freelance business consultant and Israeli reservist. The father of 4 young kids has spent more than 250 days on the front lines, at one point overlapping with his brother in Gaza. Thanks for voting in our poll, by the way. Most of you think, well, about a quarter of you think there'll be a ceasefire with Hamas in the next 3 months. The rest say no. $122 until the ceasefire starts, guys. 82 minutes. Marty D'Angelo thinks there will be a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza and Hamas in the next 3 months. Wikipedia, talking about economic impact of the Israel-Hamas war. Wikipedia says, They have a paragraph, where is it from, citing a couple different sources here. They said, according to the Bank of Israel, Israel's war-related costs from 2023 to 2025 could end up amounting to $55 billion, therefore thereby costing Israel 10% of its economy. Bloomberg says Israel's economy has been strained by the wars in Gaza and Lebanon. My point is, though, is that, I mean, there's a big economic motivation for Israel to bring an end to these current conflicts. I mean, there's an article from, hold on a second here, see if I can find this for you. You know, AP had an article back in August, and the headline is, Israel's economy is struggling. Economists say ending the war would help. They said the bloodiest, most destructive war ever between Israel and Hamas has hurt thousands of small businesses and compromised international trust in an economy once thought of as an entrepreneurial dynamo. Hey, thanks to Gerald White for your support. Gerald says Hezbollah did not agree to the ceasefire. No, that's false. Again, Hezbollah has agreed to the ceasefire. Hezbollah has agreed to the ceasefire. I don't think there's an official, as I said before, I don't believe Hezbollah has issued a statement on their social media. There's probably some sort of political reason or something. They don't want to do that. But there's just no way that the Lebanese government and Netanyahu and Biden are all getting up there and say that Hezbollah has agreed to it if they haven't agreed to it. They've agreed to it. They have agreed to it. I've seen a number of people say they haven't agreed to it. They have agreed to it. It's not going to be the case that it turns out they didn't agree to it and Netanyahu is like, fire the guy who told me they agreed to it. What was he talking about? Or that Biden is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I made a mistake and I read an article that said Hezbollah agreed. I should have talked to them myself. No, that's not going to happen. Believe me, they have spoken to Hezbollah. Whether or not there's an official statement from Hezbollah, there's just no way that Netanyahu and the Lebanese government and Biden are all out there saying this stuff. Believe me, they've talked to them. Sorry, Gerald White. Gerald White very nicely made a donation to the channel. And I'm bringing this up because I've seen a lot. We've talked about this before on the stream. A bunch of people have said this. So there's a distinction between. I just want to be clear, though. Just because there's no statement on official Hezbollah social media, I don't believe they've officially released an official statement. That doesn't mean they haven't agreed to it. There's just no. Believe me, if there was serious questions, you would not see Netanyahu out there making a big speech about how it's happened. It's how the deal is done. Now, as Gerald White points out, the initial agreement is for 60 days, but it's not supposed to be one of these short term and then we go back to fighting. It's supposed to be a basis for a permanent cessation of hostilities, as President Biden said. So again, sometimes you see in the middle of a conflict, the two sides will agree to stop fighting for a short amount of time to do whatever, and then the understanding is they're going to fight after. That is not the case here. This is supposed to be, yes, it's 60 days. It's supposed to be the basis for a permanent, or permanent in the sense of, at least for this conflict, cessation of hostilities. So thank you to Gerald for pointing that out. Also, thanks Cartoon Maps for your support. I appreciate it. We haven't even seen, even though there were some Israeli evacuation orders, one in Beirut and one in southern suburbs of Beirut, we have not seen airstrikes there yet. (1:11), an hour and 11 minutes. Thank you, Captain Jerry Donnelly, for your support, who says ceasefire versus truce. Again, these words are used different ways. I think I don't want to get into these are the various ways people use these words. But again, I think it's pretty clear what the idea of this agreement is, whatever you call it. It's an initial 60-day agreement, which is supposed to be the basis for a permanent cessation of hostilities. And during those first 60 days, Israel's supposed to leave Lebanon. Hezbollah is supposed to leave southern Lebanon and move north of the Litani River, which is about, in some places, about 20 miles from the border. And thousands of Lebanese soldiers will join UN peacekeepers in the southern Lebanon region to monitor the deal and prevent it from being violated. That's the basic idea. Whatever you call it. Thank you so much, Captain Jerry Donnelly. Thanks also, Cartoon Maps. Oh, I thank Cartoon Maps. Well, thanks again. Thanks, Janice McConnell, for your support. That's really kind of you, Janice. Thank you. Shout out to all of our moderators. A big question is will the 60,000 or so Israelis move back to northern Israel, and how soon? Will they feel safe enough to do so? Thanks to our moderators, we have Beth Mythical and Ruth Krafasi moderating. Thank you. Bastion Girl, I got that fire in Surly Dev on Twitch. K. Lowry Body on Facebook. Margaret Riley, Ronald Egnor, thank you. Linda Belk and Larry on X. Shout out to our subscribers, Bruce Hodge on Facebook, Eve Richards, Diane Allworth, Margaret Riley, K. Lowry Body, Ronald Egnor, Robert Rial II, and everybody else who subscribes over there. On Twitch, subscribers like Alyat Zion. Quake Clouds. Sharkingly, thanks for subscribing. Annie Cush on Twitch. Chegarty Farmer Bob. Wall Street and Shaggy. Thanks to Naomi Nocturnell, our member on YouTube. An hour and 8 minutes. You know, one thing we have not been seeing the last few hours, we have been seeing lots of rockets coming in from Hezbollah. I saw some talk that maybe Hezbollah would be firing a bunch of rockets before the ceasefire. That has not happened. Let's see here. 8 minutes ago, Lebanese outlet Al Jadid News said there was a new Israeli strike in the city of Tyre, Lebanon. NBN Lebanon said about 15 minutes ago an Israeli strike targeted the city of Baalbek. So we are hearing about some, that's in eastern Lebanon, we are hearing about some different airstrikes going on. Devoted Fairy says the gunfire in planes have stopped too. We are not hearing gunfire in drones on the cameras right now. That is true. Now the gunfire, I believe before we were hearing may have been after the evacuation orders to warn people to evacuate. I'm not sure, but yes, we are not hearing gunfire on the cameras right now. We're not hearing any drone activity above Beirut. Thank you so much, VV, for your support, for the gift memberships. It's really nice of you. Make sure you thank somebody if they give you a gift membership or gift subscription. Oh, thanks to Flopzor for subscribing on Twitch. And I got that fire. Oh, I got behind on Twitch. My bad. Flopzor, thanks for subscribing. I got that fire for subscribing. Jim1231 for the bits on Twitch. Ghost in the Collective. Thanks for your support on Twitch. Ghost in the Collective. That's really nice of you. Midgers70s. Midgers70s. subscribed on Twitch. Sorry, I got a little behind. I was going to thank people on Twitch, and I just got a little behind there. Sorry about that. My fault. My fault. Oh, and thank you so much, Shraggy Stern. That's really nice of you, Shraggy Stern. I appreciate that. Very nice of you. Thanks so much, Shraggy Stern. An hour and 4 minutes. No big hiccup so far on the way to the start of the ceasefire. Oh, hey, a good point by Joe Truzman, who I follow. I want to show you what Joe had to say. I was mentioning this earlier. Now, Joe is a Middle East expert. He really knows his stuff. Good person to follow for Middle East stuff. Joe says, for those of you who are new to Israeli conflicts and ceasefires, it won't be out of the ordinary if there is some rocket fire by Hezbollah after the ceasefire goes into effect. Bad actors enjoy getting in the last word. That's happened before, you know, in recent years when we've covered stuff between Israel and Hezbollah and Israel and Gaza, where rocket fire can happen after the ceasefire goes into effect. Something to keep an eye on. So just something to keep an eye out for. Pinkerton says, I'm sure Israel has a list of targets they will hit if Hezbollah fires a finale towards Israel. No, we're not talking about days after. We're talking about shortly after. It is almost 3 a.m. local time there. Lisa Sutz says, will Iran go after Israel now that there is a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah? That I do not know. If there were to be hostilities between Israel and Iran, open hostilities, you know, normally you'd expect maybe Hezbollah to, because they're backed by Iran, to start firing stuff at Israel. Obviously, that would be a violation of the ceasefire, though. I wonder if we'll see a text of the ceasefire in the next day or so. Wow, Shraggy Stern, so nice of you. Thank you, Shraggy Stern, very kind of you. Really appreciate that. Shraggy, thank you. An hour and 1 minute. 61 minutes until the ceasefire. We are getting close. It is initially 60 days, but it's supposed to be the basis for a lasting cessation of hostilities. Hobgoblin thinks Hezbollah will just spend time rearming and fixing their tunnels. All right, we're just about at an hour. We're going to be under an hour soon. Flor Morena says, I don't trust Hezbollah. All right, guys, we're getting to an hour. In about 5 seconds, we'll be at an hour. Here we go. We are under an hour now, less than an hour until the Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire to stop a conflict that's been going on since the day after the October 7th attack on Israel last year. Wow, Shraggy Stern just gave 5 people membership. So nice of you. Shraggy, thanks for all your support. Shraggy Stern, that's awesome of you. Thank you. One of our viewers said, is the IDF at the Litani River? That's the river about 20 miles north of the border where Hezbollah is supposed to push back to. I saw some report about that today. Israel isn't spread out and controlling all of southern Lebanon. The Times of Israel said that the IDF's 91st Division reached the Litani River in the eastern sector of southern Lebanon, and said it was the first time since the year 2000 that IDF troops have reached the Litani River. That was according to Manny Fabian of Times of Israel today. He said the IDF aired footage showing troops of the Air Force's elite Shal Dog unit operating on the banks of the Litani River, where rockets and Hezbollah bunkers were found, said Manny Fabian. Maybe I can pull up a map here really quick. Yeah, let me show you under my understanding. This is a map showing where the Hezbollah would have to pull back from. This is from the Congressional Research Service here, Lebanese Hezbollah. But if you look on the map there on the left, see it says here, this is the Unifil Zone. This is where United Nations peacekeepers are here currently. They've been supposed, that was an area that according to Security Council Resolution 1701, I believe Hezbollah was supposed to pull out of that area. But they did not pull out of that area. But I believe, I haven't seen the ceasefire, but my understanding, and you can see it says Litani, so the Litani River would be here. But my understanding is that this zone or something like it would be the zone that Hezbollah would have to pull out of and be north of here. If it's not that, it's something like that. You can see this is the northern border of Israel right here. So they would have to evacuate. I think a lot of them have already. But they would have to evacuate this zone, and then you will have thousands of Lebanese troops along with UN peacekeepers in that orange zone to make sure Hezbollah is not violating that agreement. And Israel, by the way. But that gives you a feeling for what we're talking about there, southern Lebanon. Again, it might be a little off, but that's my understanding. My understanding it would be this area, in some places about 20 miles from the border. Yes, the Watcher says we've heard 5,000 Lebanese soldiers. And when we heard that story, one of our viewers mentioned of Israel making it to some Israeli soldiers being on the Litani River, that would be the northern border of this orange area. Thank you so much to another donation from Shraggy Stern, who's been incredibly generous. Hey, thank you, Shraggy Stern. So nice of you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Also, and gave 5 more memberships too. Thank you, Shraggy Stern, so much. And also Sparky. Sparky says within 30 seconds of the deadline, everything's going to go sideways. I hope not. That's what Sparky thinks. Thanks, Sparky, for your support. "52 minutes. We haven't even seen the airstrikes in Beirut area, the Beirut area that we thought we'd see, because there were two evacuation orders issued by Israel before we came on the air. But I don't believe they have launched strikes on either of those targets, because I think we would have seen them, or we would have heard about it. Adventures with Crystal, thank you, says who will fire the first shot after the ceasefire? Russell Lane says someone out there will be looking to break the ceasefire. I'm keeping my eye on a border camera too. I have the Beirut cams up though because again there were 2 evacuation warnings. Oops, that's what was going on. I don't want to really get into this, but there's an article from AP that says Trump team says Israel Hezbollah ceasefire deal brokered by Biden is actually Trump's win. AP says Trump's team was quick to spike the football and claim credit for the rare spot of good news for a Democratic administration that's been dragged down by the grinding Mideast conflict. Florida Representative Mike Waltz, Trump's choice for his national security advisor, said in a post on X, "Everyone is coming to the table because of President Trump. His resounding victory sent a clear message to the rest of the world that chaos won't be tolerated. I'm glad to see concrete steps towards de-escalation in the Middle East." AP says White House officials are now hopeful that a calm in Lebanon will reinvigorate a multi-country effort at finding an endgame to the devastating war in Gaza, where Hamas is still holding dozens of hostages and the conflict is more intractable. AP says the ceasefire deal calls for a 2-month initial halt in fighting and would require Hezbollah to end its armed presence in a broad swath of southern Lebanon, while Israeli troops would return to their side of the border. Thousands of additional Lebanese troops and UN peacekeepers would deploy in southern Lebanon, and an international plan panel headed by the United States would monitor compliance. AP says Hezbollah has said it accepts the proposal, but a senior official with the group said to Tuesday it had not seen the agreement in its final form. I'm guessing they have. I can't imagine the U.S. and Israel would say the deal is done without hearing it from Hezbollah, even if Hezbollah doesn't want to publicly make a big announcement about it. What about the Houthis? Unemployed storyteller says. The Iran-backed Houthis. There's no deal for the Houthis to stop attacking shipping, for example, in the Red Sea. They are backed by Iran. Thanks to Shraggy Stern, who gave some more gift memberships. Wow, so nice of you, Shraggy. Thank you. Thank you also, Barbara Crossley, our member. Thank you to Chris Canada, Quebec City. Thanks, Chris. Chris seems to think that there's a decent chance that the ceasefire will not hold. "45 minutes. Guys, 45 minutes. AP also says French President Macron said a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah marked a new page for Lebanon. And called on its leaders to elect a president without delay. Oh, they haven't had a president, I think, for a couple of years in Lebanon. Without getting really into it, the politics is very messy over there. They have a government where power is shared between Christians, Sunni Muslim. What is it? Isn't it Shia Muslims, Sunni Muslims, and Christians? Isn't that what it is in Lebanon? I'm not an expert on their politics. Christians, Sunni Muslims, and Shia Muslims. One of our viewers said Druze too. The top 3 positions are distributed as follows, says Wikipedia. The president must be a Maronite Christian, the speaker of the parliament a Shia Muslim, and the prime minister a Sunni Muslim. Reuters says Israel will gradually withdraw its forces over 60 days as Lebanon's army takes control of territory near its border with Israel to ensure that Hezbollah does not rebuild its infrastructure there, according to President Biden. The foreign minister of Lebanon said the Lebanese army would be ready to have at least 5,000 troops deployed in southern Lebanon as Israeli troops withdraw. Thanks to our new member, Raina Hood. Thank you, Raina. Thanks also so much to Shadows6530. Russian Air Force over Lebanon. I mean, maybe there's a plane on flight radar or something, but maybe they usually fly over there. I don't know. I'm not a flight radar expert, so I haven't seen anybody I follow say there's anything huge going on there on the flight radar. That's not, it's Syria. You can see here, it's a Syria. See that Russia Air Force plane? That's Syria. Where Russia has strong ties. That's not Lebanon, that's Syria. That's on Flight Radar 24. Thank you so much, Shadows, for your support. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hang on, I have too many things open on my desktop now. Too many things are open. Need to close some things. Way too much open. Haven't had any rocket alerts the last couple hours. No strikes in Beirut the last couple hours. Ali Hashem from Al Jazeera believes that there's going to be Hezbollah rocket barrages and Israeli attacks in the last hour before the ceasefire. I don't know, we'll have to see. Sandra Lee Harutunian Trinity says it's a good thing that there have not been rocket alerts and airstrikes in Beirut. Al Arabiya claims that there were some rockets launched towards Israel, but again, there's no rocket alert right now. NBN Lebanon says there was an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon in Gaza. NBN also says Hezbollah claims that they launched a missile strike on Israel somewhere. But again, we haven't heard about any kind of... No rocket alert since we've been on the air. Yeah, Hezbollah just posted something which said... Hezbollah said that they targeted... Oh, Hezbollah claims an hour and 20 minutes ago they fired a missile at Israel. Well, I don't know if that actually happened. Sometimes they're known to sometimes say things that are not true about what they have done to Israel. Yeah, Lebanon, Hezbollah released a statement. They released a statement claiming that they had fired a missile an hour and a half ago at Evan Menachem, which is near the border in Israel, near the border with Lebanon. But I haven't heard anything about that. Sherry says, what happens if Hezbollah fires a rocket at 4:15? Look, Joe Truzman said that in the past with ceasefires, Hezbollah, he's a Middle East expert. He said you should expect that. He said it would not be out of the ordinary if there is some rocket fired by Hezbollah after the ceasefire deal goes into effect. I don't think a couple rockets is going to kill the deal. I certainly think it's possible you might have a little rocket fire after the deadline, and then Israel launches a couple airstrikes, and then that's it. We'll have to see. Thank you, Adi Chevris, for your support. Adi says, Hezbollah always breaks the peace agreement. Thanks also to Raina Hood for the gift membership. Thanks so much, Raina. Metanoia Mind says Netanyahu said zero tolerance. Oh, was there a flash? Was there just a strike? People said they saw a strike. All right, hold on. Keep watching because I think it'll happen on the other cameras. Did you see it on camera 1? Which cameras? All right, there we go. I just saw it on camera 2. Okay, so I think you're seeing, I think there was just a strike right now. Remember, Israel, we just heard a strike in the Beirut area. Israel had issued 2 evacuation warnings. So I can replay the flash if you give me the time code. We're hearing some booms on the, the cameras are on different timing. So if there's one boom, you might hear it 3 different times and see 3 different flashes. So I don't know if there was 1 strike or multiple strikes. Let me go back and I'll show a replay. But we have just seen 1 or more Israeli strikes in Beirut, which is not a surprise because they had issued some evacuation warnings there a couple hours ago. Oh, smoke back here? Where? Hold on. Oh, I can see it. I'm going to replay for it. This is smoke. In the middle of the screen, there's smoke. I don't know if you can see it on the other ones. Let me get rid of this camera. Well, let me make it smaller. Right there. Are you in the middle there? I'll replay it for you and you'll see the smoke go up. Two flashes on cam 3. Did we just see another one or not? Hold on. There was just another one on camera 3. Watch the other cameras. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Here, watch. Yes, so multiple attacks going on now, airstrikes in the Beirut area. When I get a second, I'll replay them. What was the time code of the first one? 32247. Was that the first one, 32247, or was there one before that? Wasn't there one around? Now we're hearing a drone, it sounds like. Okay, I just saw that one on the bottom there. 32247, there was one. 32240. Oh yes, 32240 as well. Yes, 32241, there was one. And 32247. No, we were expecting that this would happen. You can see some smoke on the top left there. See on the top left? Hold on, you might see another one right now. Hearing some planes. You can see smoke on the top left. See, there you go. Look at the top left right now. You can see smoke there. Camera 2. It was expected because Israel had issued evacuation orders. This is not unexpected. You might have expected them to do it a little earlier, but just about half an hour before the ceasefire. Let me show you real quick a replay of a couple of strikes here. All right, really quick. This is a replay. I'm going to show you really quick a replay. All right, watch this. See, it says moments ago. Watch this right now, really quick. Really quick, watch your screen. Watch your screen, watch. Right now. Boom. And then you'll see a second one coming up. There. I'll play that again for you. Watch this. Right there. And right there. So there have been some airstrikes. We just saw a few airstrikes in and around Beirut. Hearing what maybe is a drone. Hearing something else. This is live. This is live. I just heard another boom. I just heard another boom right now. Sounds like another strike. Just heard it. Yeah, Beirut View 2 is showing smoke from one of the earlier strikes that we saw a couple minutes ago. I wonder if the IDF will say something about this. Will they say we struck these targets that we'd warned about before? No one's answered from the IDF yet. Thank you, Robin Ridge, who thinks there's a fire in the middle of camera 1. We saw some smoke there. I don't see flame where I'm looking. I'm seeing some smoke, it looks like. I'll actually show you that. You could actually see it earlier on camera 1, the smoke coming up. Watch what happens. I'm going to replay this for you for a second. Hey, thanks also to Kerry Poteet for the gift memberships. It's really nice of you, Kerry. Thank you. All right, here we're going to replay something for you. Check this out from moments ago. Now, first you'll see a couple flashes. Watch the middle of your screen. See that boom right there? Then a couple seconds later, you'll see a big flash there. Now, look right in here. You will see smoke emerge coming up in here. You should. And then you actually could see it up here too, where it says moments ago. Then you saw it there. You see that? Look at camera. Hold on. Watch that again. Look at Beirut View 3. I'll replay that for you. You'll see the same flashes on Beirut View 3. See, there's one right there. Hold on. Watch on the top there. Right there, you saw one flash. Then you'll see another one on View 3 on the top. There's the other one. And then look in the middle of your screen. Where did that smoke come up from? Yeah, right there. See right there, look at the smoke coming up. That was earlier. Then you actually saw it on View 2. The same thing on View 2. It's 1, then 3, then 2, but it's all the same. It's just delayed. So you can see that smoke come up there, though. See the smoke? It's kind of hard to see, but right in there. I'm just making it go forward kind of fast, but... So it looked like maybe at least 2 strikes. Uh-oh, hold on, let me get back to live. That's live now. So some strikes shortly before the ceasefire is set to take place. Maybe they hit the 2 targets they had warned about earlier. Yes, those were Israeli strikes. 25 minutes left until the ceasefire begins. 3:35 a.m. Let's see here. Bisan, who I follow on X, says, very low warplanes over Beirut. I believe she is there. She posted that a couple minutes ago. Also, about 5 minutes ago, multiple Lebanese outlets say there was a new Israeli strike on the Jina area. Is that the one in Beirut? Where is that at? There's a Jina. Oh no, that's Jina is part of Lebanon. It's like the southern part of Beirut, southern suburbs. So I think that's not a different strike. That's just talking about one of the strikes we saw or heard. About 10 minutes ago or so, there were several strikes in the Beirut area. Maybe I'll show you that one more time so you can see the strikes about 10-15 minutes ago that we saw. This is quick replay here. Watch your screen. Right there. See that right there? And then that one right there. I can go back. I can probably stop this one. Hold on. There it is, like there it is. Right there. Look at that. There it is. There's a freeze frame of one of those couple strikes we saw there. That was about 15 minutes ago. Thank you, Ernie, for your support. Yervant Yellow thinks that's it and there won't be any more strikes before the ceasefire begins. We'll have to see. Specific Gravity says, I didn't expect them to bomb this close to the ceasefire. I mean, I kind of thought that they would. I mean, they issued evacuation orders before we came on the air. I thought that maybe they would, do it shortly after that. But it's interesting that they did it about a half hour before the ceasefire. And as our viewer Yervantello points out, I think there was an additional strike a few minutes after that. I think we heard that one but didn't see it in the Jina area in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Thanks, Wendy Knutson, for being a member. Less than 20 minutes now until the start of the ceasefire. Less than 20 minutes, guys. No rocket alerts right now. I'm actually surprised there haven't been any rocket alerts. I figured there'd be some. But less fighting, the better. Jen Robb says, it's way quiet. Is this what peace sounds like? Thank you, Shadow6530. Will the 60,000 or so Israelis start moving back to northern Israel, where they've left because of the Hezbollah attacks? How about all of the people, about a quarter of the population in Lebanon has been displaced, a fifth to a quarter. Will they start moving back to southern Lebanon? Some of which has been really, some villages there and towns have been devastated in southern Lebanon. Will they start rebuilding, or will they not want to rebuild yet? Brett B thinks they would be naive to move back. Who? Both sides? Again, Hezbollah is not the one holding hostages. Hamas in Gaza is holding hostages. This is a ceasefire deal with Hezbollah in Lebanon, not Hamas in Gaza. Oops, sorry. Hold on a second here. Hold on. Thanks NextBike1 for subscribing on Twitch. F5 says give it 2 days. 16 minutes. Guys, 16 minutes until the ceasefire begins. 16 minutes. Any comments from Iran? I haven't heard any. Hang on a second here. The Washington Post says President Biden sought to capitalize on the announcement of a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah today by urging an end to the deadly fighting in Gaza and making a last-ditch push for a broader Middle East peace deal with less than 2 months in office. The Post says incoming President Trump has indicated to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu that Trump would like to see Israel's conflicts wrapped up by the time he enters office. Trump has selected a number of officials for his administration who are staunchly pro-Israel, including Representative Elise Stefanik as UN ambassador, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, who believes Jews have a biblical right to Palestinian land, including the West Bank, as U.S. ambassador to Israel, and Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. It is not clear how much Trump or his top deputies would push for a Palestinian state or what other policies they might pursue in the Middle East, said the Post. Experts and analysts have long said reaching a cessation of hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah is far more likely than a deal in Gaza. And U.S. officials had privately expressed more optimism for a deal in Lebanon than one in Gaza before today. The United States believes up to 5 Americans held hostage in Gaza are still alive. The Post says, despite widespread global criticism of Israel's conduct in Gaza and to a lesser extent in Lebanon, Biden has refused to use the biggest leverage he has to try and pressure Israel to limit civilian casualties or end the war, conditioning or suspending the supply of offensive weapons. Oh, I'm hearing a drone. I am hearing a drone. Hear that? Guys, 12 and a half minutes until the ceasefire begins. Will we see any or hear anything happen before then or after then? Israel launched a few strikes in the Beirut area about 20 minutes ago. Thanks Questella for the bits on Twitch, by the way. We're almost down to about 10 minutes before the ceasefire starts. It's initially a 60-day ceasefire, but it's supposed to be the foundation for a permanent stopping of this conflict. At least this latest conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Israel will leave Lebanon. Hezbollah will clear out, or whatever clearing out they still haven't done, they will exit southern Lebanon, and thousands of Lebanese troops and the UN peacekeeping forces will be in southern Lebanon monitoring the sides sticking to the deal. And no more hostilities between the two. Less than 10 minutes now, guys. Less than 10 minutes. Yeah, thank you, Tech Wizard. Trump announced some more nominations to his administration. In my view, they didn't rise to the level that I wanted to mention them on this stream. so I'm not going to right now, but I appreciate you letting me know. But feel free, you guys can check out online if you're following that or want to follow that. Try to keep the focus on the topic at hand unless there's something like super huge. Thank you, Tech Wizard. I really appreciate that. Thanks. Eight minutes and 45 seconds. I hear a drone. Robert says last second attempt. Will we see any last minute or even shortly after the deadline some rocket fire? I got to get ready to change the headline, guys. With 7 minutes and 42 seconds. 7 minutes and 39 seconds. Currently, no rocket alerts. Are there any reports of strikes in Lebanon? I'll check Lebanese media. This is a conflict that's been going on for over a year, really, but it really ramped up in the last couple months. 7 minutes ago, Al Arabiya said there were 3 strikes by Israel on the town of Aita al-Shab in southern Lebanon. 8 minutes ago, Al Mayadeen said, reported a very violent bombardment with artillery, tank shells, and heavy barrages on the center of Kafr Kila. They said in what appears to be a cover-up of some retreat of Israel in the region. Are some Israeli forces leaving right this moment? I mean, they don't have to leave right now. They have the next 60 days to. But we are hearing about other strikes in some different parts of Lebanon. 9 minutes ago, LBCI Lebanon News said Israeli warplanes fly heavily over Beirut. We are hearing a drone on at least one of the cameras. 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Thank you, Mary P., our new member. Maybe I'll switch the top camera to Israel-Lebanon border cam. Which is now I've confused myself. Where's the northern? Oh, I have the western border. I don't have the eastern border, I guess. I'm going to put up here. I'm going to switch this one real quick. I'm switching this to. Get rid of that. Put that up there. That's going to be that's the eastern, northwestern border. Israel-Lebanon border west. We'll put that up top there. just so you can see it. Uh, 4 minutes and 10 seconds until the ceasefire begins. A conflict that's been going on for over a year. Again, this is not between Israel and Hamas, it's between Israel and Hezbollah. Still a big moment. An important moment. Shaggy thinks it's going to sound a lot like it does right now. Are we going to still hear a drone over Beirut? Linda Gordon says it's been a while since a rocket alert. Yes, it has. According to so far, the last rocket alert was 5 hours ago, as well as the last drone alert. Guys, there are 3 minutes left. 3 minutes until the Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire deal. Does the deal involve Iran at all? Well, Iran is a big supporter of Hezbollah, so maybe Iran had to sign off on it. I don't know for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some sort of say in what Hezbollah does, because they are the huge supporter of Hezbollah. Two minutes and 30 seconds. No last-minute rocket fire right now. Israel carried out a few airstrikes in Beirut, the Beirut area, about 20 minutes ago. Tracy Johnson says, will one of them break the ceasefire? That I do not know. What I do know is that we have less than 2 minutes now. Less than 2 minutes until the ceasefire begins. It's a big moment. Michael A. says, wow. Real Sportsman says there will still be drones for surveillance. If one of them breaks it, well, we'll have to wait and see if that destroys the whole agreement or not. Or do they just kind of carry on? It's up to the parties involved. 1 minute and 20 seconds. Will there be fireworks, CC says? I was wondering if you might hear a gunfire or something. Will people celebrate it in Lebanon, for example? Okay, less than a minute now. Less than a minute until the ceasefire begins. We are down to 45 seconds. 45 now. Wow. Looks like we're going to get there without some huge hiccup. Will it last? I don't know. 30 seconds. We're going to start counting down. It's initially for 2 months, but the idea is for it to be permanent. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breaking news. Breaking news. The ceasefire has begun. I need to change the headline because the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah has now begun. Oh my gosh. It has begun. Guys, it has begun. Breaking news. There is your new headline ceasefire begins between Israel and Hezbollah. Will it hold? It has begun. Breaking news. Let me fix the headline here. Oopsie, that's not fixed. It'll be fixed in a second. There we go. Ceasefire begins. Ceasefire begins. We read some of the Netanyahu statement before. Sherry says, I'm going to leave my So Far Rocket Alert app running just in case. Big breaking news. The ceasefire has begun. Hearing a little gunfire, maybe? It's a big moment. It is a big moment. Drone, I can't tell if the drone is gone. Did the drone go away? I can't tell. One of our viewers said, peace in our time. Kimmy Ann says, I don't think it'll last. Renton says, drone is gone. Sandra Lee Hart says it's gone. Eliza Jane says it's a big moment. It is a big moment. I mean, I don't know if it'll hold, but it's a big deal that at least it started. It is a big moment. Manny Fabian of Times of Israel says a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah takes effect now. D. Schmidt says silence is golden. Jess thinks that Israel was forced into this and that most of Israel didn't want a ceasefire. That's what Jess claims. Gunfire. We're hearing some maybe celebratory gunfire. I don't know if Netanyahu would have done it if he thought that most of Israel didn't want it. Our viewer Desjarlais says it's a start. Ladina thought we were hearing celebrating. Pebble Girl says, sounds like you heard some people celebrating. That sounds like maybe celebratory gunfire. The IDF just released a statement, I believe. Hold on. We're hearing some celebratory gunfire, I believe. You know, it's possible the cameras are like on a minute or on a couple minute delay or something. I don't think they are, though. But we're hearing a lot of gunfire now. Again, my assumption is this is celebratory gunfire. Manny Fabian of Times of Israel reports Avichai Adre, the IDF's Arabic language spokesman, warns Lebanese civilians to not yet return to villages in southern Lebanon as a ceasefire takes effect. Adri says, Israeli army spokesperson, hold on, a lot of gunfire. Somebody said they saw some sort of tracer on the camera. Again, this really does sound like celebratory gunfire. Again, an IDF spokesperson, Avichai Adri, tells people in Lebanon, do not move towards the villages that we evacuated or towards Israeli forces in the area. For the protection and the safety of your families, avoid reaching the area. We will inform you of the safe date to return to your homes. So the IDF is telling people, don't go back to your homes in southern Lebanon that you've evacuated yet. We will let you know when it's safe to go back. Yeah, I agree with Jonathan Morris, who says it doesn't sound like anything we've heard there prior. It's celebratory. Yeah, we don't usually hear this kind of gunfire from there. Ralph Davis, our viewer, thinks that Hezbollah will launch a rocket after the deadline as defiance. Well, we'll have to see. Our viewer, as we hear what I believe is celebratory gunfire. Our viewer, Oregon guy, thinks only Iran can guarantee that Hezbollah abides by the agreement with Israel. A lot of gunfire. Thank you to Chris, Canada, Quebec City. Thanks so much, Chris, from Canada. Who says, we in Canada celebrate with balloons and bunny popping out cakes. Everyone has their own thing. Thank you, Who Shot JR, for your support. Who Shot JR, thank you. Al Mayadeen reports that some Lebanese citizens have started to return to their homes in the south. Now, Israel said you shouldn't do that yet. But, oh, see the gun? You can see it on the screen right there. Look, you can see gunfire, tracer fire it looked like, you know, the lit up gunfire. We just saw it right there on the screen. Did you guys see that? Again, I would assume all of this is celebratory. I'll show you those shots again. Here, look. Here's a little replay for you. Watch right here. You'll see right here. Right in there. Watch this. See that right there? See that? Again, I believe that's just celebratory fire. Right in there. Now that's live. I'm seeing some posts from some people I follow in Lebanon who are quite happy about this. Again, the hostages are not held by Hezbollah. The hostages are held by Gaza, by Hamas and Gaza. This is a deal between Israel and Hezbollah, not Israel and Hamas. Moose's Backyard thinks that Israel was successful in forcing Hezbollah to decouple the conditions for the deal from the conflict in Gaza. Moose's Backyard thinks Hezbollah wants to regroup and resupply, while Israel will do what it can for it not to happen. This is not over, says Moose's Backyard. Thanks for writing in, Moose's Backyard. Thank you so much, Spirit of Mourning, who says perhaps a ceasefire will also lead to a reduction in the violent demonstrations taking place in so many other places. We shall see. Thanks, Spirit of Mourning. Now the conflict is still going on in Gaza between Israel and Hamas. Will we see a ceasefire there next, which would be an even bigger deal? Some of our viewers saw a flash somewhere. I have not heard any reports of any kind of airstrikes or anything. So maybe somebody lit something off or something, but there's no reporting of new airstrikes. By the way, this person, Bisan, who I follow in Beirut, said that the drone is gone that was flying around before. We heard a drone and then it stopped right around the time of the ceasefire. Christina B said there was a flash as you showed the tracers. Again, no reports of any airstrikes. Somebody said that the flash was just me rewinding and it wasn't an actual flash on the camera. That might be true as well. U.S. Gulf War vet says, sounds like small arms fire. You're hearing celebratory gunfire. Thanks, Who Shot JR, for your support. Oh no, there wasn't. the thing you said, when people said they saw a flash at 4:14:49, that was not on the camera. That was this thing where that was just a thing about, it was a video thing. It was not, there was no actual flash there. It was, you were seeing a frame from earlier, is what you were seeing. Just to be clear. There was no real flash at 4:14, whatever it was. 4:14:50. That was a thing from earlier. It wasn't a live flash. Wow, Bill Fisher just gave 50 people memberships. Oh my gosh. 50 people on YouTube just got memberships from Bill Fisher. That is very generous of you, Bill. Wow, please be sure to thank Bill Fisher for that. That was super nice of Bill. Thank you, Bill. It is, it's already been 22 minutes. No rocket alerts so far after the ceasefire. We're now 22 minutes in. We're still getting a bunch of celebratory gunfire. Thanks to Bud Carlo for your support. I appreciate it, Bud. Thank you. Thank you, Shadows, who says there's a Q4 drone off the coast of Lebanon. Thank you, Shadows. Again, I am not a flight radar expert. Nobody I follow is saying anything, who knows about this stuff is saying that there's some big new important thing going on the flight radar. So maybe it's something that's just usually there. Yeah, there's a drone on Flight Radar 24 off the coast of Lebanon, probably from a U.S. It's a U.S. Navy drone. But again, my assumption is that these things go around there all the time. So I'm not aware that that's any kind of new thing. But I don't know for sure. But again, no one who I follow who really knows about this stuff is saying there's, oh my gosh, this is an emergency. There's some drone out there. So. But if you want to check it out, thanks Shadows for pointing it out, you can go to Flight Radar 24, and there it is. It's an MQ-4C drone, which looks like this from Wikipedia. Thank you, Shadows. I appreciate that. Flight Radar 24. I subscribe, but I think you can look. You can look at it, or you can look at it some. I think for just free. I think there are certain capabilities you get by subscribing. But go take a look. FlightRadar24.com. FlightRadar24.com. It's a great site. I use it all the time. I appreciate them letting me show their stuff. Curtis Cardwell said there was anti-aircraft fire just a minute ago. Again, my guess is that all of this is celebratory. I don't know why they'd be firing anti-aircraft fire. I mean, maybe they could be, but I've not heard any reports of Israeli strikes or non-celebratory firing. Sean says ADSB Exchange. That's another good flight tracking site. ADSB Exchange. NBN Lebanon claims that that there's lots of people driving into southern Lebanon going back to their homes. That's a report from NBN Lebanon. That's what they say. NBN Lebanon also says the people of the Bekaa Valley in eastern Lebanon are heading back to their cities and villages after the ceasefire. So again, there's reporting from Lebanon claiming that a lot of people have already started heading back home. About 20 to 25% of the country had been displaced. I see maybe one rocket alert right now. Let's see here. This is not a Lebanon rocket alert. This is a rocket alert near Gaza. It's a rocket alert near Gaza, presumably a rocket fired from Gaza. This is not going to be a rocket fired from Lebanon. See? That's Gaza. Lebanon's all the way up here. The rocket alert is all the way down here. So this is not a Lebanon rocket. This is a single alert near Gaza. I'll let you know what we hear. But that was not a rocket from Lebanon. Pretty rare these days to have rocket alerts from Gaza. Al Mayadeen reports that the people of southern Lebanon and the Bekaa Valley have begun to return to their towns and villages as the ceasefire has taken force. People have been away from their homes. How soon will Israelis return to northern Israel? About 60,000 Israelis have moved away from northern Israel because of the Hezbollah attack. So when will they go back? Yes, as Jeremy says, the IDF told people in southern Lebanon to not go back. I don't know if they're going to stick to that or not. Castle Keeper says you would think Hezbollah would let people have a peaceful night for the first time in months and not shoot all night. I don't know if everybody shooting is with Hezbollah. Pogo Bukin thinks it's a waste of ammo. Zach Attack says rarely hear this much gunfire. Truth says this is how they celebrate. This is only for Hezbollah. It has nothing to do with Hamas. Joe Trusman thinks that rocket was fired from Gaza because Hamas and its allies in Gaza want everyone to know they still exist and are not bound by the ceasefire in Lebanon. Joe is a Middle East expert. Well, it's 34 minutes in. No rocket fire from Lebanon at this point. The gunfire is not from the border camp. All of this gunfire is from the Beirut cameras. I actually just turned the border camera sound off. This is all Beirut cameras, gunfire. Can't quite get this here. Oh, I just saw a little tracer fire go up there. Maybe I'll do it this way. Aha. That's better. Make this a little smaller there. Zinc Commando says it's not a ceasefire, it's a more fire. They've been the gunfire's been going on for over a half an hour now. Over a half an hour. Bruce says, hard to believe no one will be hit by the gunfire. Thanks again to all of our moderators who have been here. I really appreciate it. A Moment of Lovely, Bastion Girl, Big Ball of Yarn, David Green. I Got That Fire. McBritches and Surly Dev. Really appreciate it. Linda Belk and Larry on X. Paul Anderson, Margaret Riley, Ronald Egnor on Facebook, K. Larry Body. Sarah55 and Ruth Grafasi on YouTube, Beth Mythical. Much appreciated. Thank you, anonymous supporter, for supporting the channel. I appreciate that. Thank you also, Finashole. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Oh, thanks to Jacob for letting me know. The IDF said that the rocket alert near Gaza about 15 minutes ago was a false alarm. Again, the rocket alert near Gaza in southern Israel about 15 minutes ago was a false alarm, according to the Israeli Defense Forces. Pierre Hebert writes in and says, live rounds are landing everywhere. They might be. I mean, I hope people are staying safe there. Thanks to our member, Peggy McGuire. Thank you. I'm actually surprised we didn't see rocket alerts either before or after the ceasefire. It's interesting. I thought we'd see some. Just out of for defiance sake. But none. So far. Sea Turtle says the gunfire and call to prayer is quite a juxtaposition. AP says Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah start a ceasefire after nearly 14 months of fighting. The ceasefire is a major step toward ending nearly 14 months of fighting sparked by the ongoing war in Gaza between Israel and Hamas. There were no immediate reports of violations of the truce, and there were signs of celebration in Beirut. But Israel has said it will attack if Hezbollah breaks the agreement. The ceasefire calls for an initial 2-month halt to fighting and requires Hezbollah to end its armed presence in southern Lebanon, while Israeli troops are to return to their side of the border. Thousands of additional Lebanese troops and UN peacekeepers would deploy in southern Lebanon, and an international panel headed by the U.S. would monitor compliance. little less gunfire now. We're 48 minutes into the ceasefire. Reuters says Israel Hezbollah ceasefire takes effect. The accord clears the way for an end to a conflict across the Israeli-Lebanese border that has killed thousands of people since it was ignited by the Gaza war last year. President Biden said this is designed to be there's some gunfire right there. President Biden said this is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. Israel will gradually withdraw its forces over 60 days as Lebanon's army takes control of territory near its border with Israel to ensure that Hezbollah does not rebuild its infrastructure there, Biden said. Blue Lotus says Biden administration pushed for this. So guys, I haven't even eaten. Today was a weird day. We were on at like 5 in the morning and 7 in the morning or something like that, covering the Israeli airstrikes in the Beirut area. So I was sleeping and then I woke up but I want to cover this, but I think we might be getting to that time where I wrap up the stream. Of course, if there's some huge developments, I'll come back on the air and do another stream, but I think it might be that time when we start wrapping it up. But again, more big developments, we'll just do another live stream. I think this is our 3rd stream on this today, so we come on when there's big news. So I really do appreciate you guys joining me for the beginning of the ceasefire. I appreciate you being here and sending your comments in and chatting and all that. Thank you, Evie1973, for your support. Thanks, Evie. But I really appreciate you being here. Subscribe and follow the channel. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda, agenda-free TV. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you turn notifications on. We have our own notification system. You sign up once, it's free. You get a notification every time. The mods will post the link to the notifications in the chat. You can find the link in the description on Facebook and YouTube as well of this video. And I will post updates on my X account when I'm not on the air. Follow me there for breaking news at Lookner on X. I will post a link in the chat to that, but I will be posting there. Still some celebratory gunfire, it sounds like, going on in the Beirut area. Big thanks to our moderators. We've had busy chat during the stream, and our moderators are the ones there who allow us to have chats and keep it respectful and civil. So really appreciate all of them. By the way, one of our viewers said a historic night. Jess said, it's a big deal. I mean, we'll see if it holds, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Sarah55 moderating, Ruth Krafasi, Beth Mythical on YouTube. Linda Belk and Larry on X. Thank you, all of our other mods too. Paul Anderson, K. Larry Body, Margaret Riley, Ronald Egnor on Facebook. Our Twitch mods, A Moment of Lovely, Bastion Girl, Big Ball of Yarn, I Got That Fire, McBritches, Surly Dev. Big thank you. All of our moderators. And thanks to everybody who donated. So nice of you guys. Really appreciate your support for the channel. Who Shot JR? Thanks for all your support, Who Shot JR. And A Moment of Lovely gave out 5 subs on Twitch. Thanks, A Moment of Lovely. That's nice. You're one of our mods. Make sure you thank somebody if they give you a gift sub or a gift membership. Thank you. Relila subscribed over there on Twitch. Thank you. Everybody who donated and supported the channel, thanks so much. That's what allows this channel to exist. If you ever want to donate, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. Ooh, more gunfire. You can listen to this while I'm wrapping up here. Follow Agenda Free TV on X for updates about the channel and the schedule updates. Add Agenda Free TV on X. Pretty rare to hear the gunfire and not be, super concerned about it. Most times, if you heard gunfire like this on a stream, it would be really bad news. But no reporting that this is anything other than celebratory gunfire. Hey, Evie1973, thank you so much, Evie, and everybody else for your support. Thanks, Evie. I really appreciate that. And Shraggy Stern and Bill Fisher and everybody else who supports the channel. Thank you. What was I going to mention? We do have, over the gunfire I'll mention, we do have a chat. You can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air on our Discord chat. It's free. Check it out. It's the same link as the notifications. And big thanks to our Discord mods as well. Thank you. Hey, thanks to all of our Twitch subscribers, like Shaggy and Wall Street, A Moment of Lovely, Spirit of the Shadows, Chi-Town Bear, Big Ball of Yarn, Ye Maitna, Al Yatzion, Free Dive Monkey. Hey, by the way, just a reminder, I do have a personal channel where we didn't stream there for a few months. It was so busy, but I did a couple streams there lately. My personal channel is called Lookner on YouTube and Looknerd on Twitch. So you can check that out if you want. It's non-news live streams. Pretty chill. Again, Lookner on YouTube and Looknerd with a D on Twitch. Check that out if you'd like. It's, again, chill, non-news live streams. And by the way, if you do watch Agenda Free TV on YouTube, make sure you have the YouTube notifications on there. Another good way to find out when we're live. But what you need to do is, if you're going to do that, it's a little tricky. If you subscribe to Agenda Free TV on YouTube, what you want to do is click this bell. Where's the bell? Where does the bell go? Why isn't the bell showing up? Oh, there it is. There's a bell there. You got to click the bell. You'll see it in a second. Click that bell and make sure you have all notifications selected on YouTube. Make sure of that. Let me thank our Facebook. Oh, thanks again to Evie. Evie1973, I really appreciate all of your support for the channel. So nice of you. Evie1973, thank you. Thanks to our Facebook subscribers, like Diane Allworth, Eve Richards, Margaret Riley, Robert Rial II, Ronald Egnor, Kay Lowry Body, Suzanne Priest Buchner, all of our Facebook subscribers. Thank you. Bruce Hodge. Bruce says this is wonderful. Look, let's hope it holds. Let's hope it holds. More gunfire still. Night Owl, our subscriber. Pew Pew Meat Curtains, our subscriber on Twitch. Tater Mong, our subscriber. Thanks. Zambo, our subscriber on Twitch. Thank you. And our YouTube members like Buffalo Women, Chung Peter, Jesse, Naomi Nocturnal, Kurt, W9BBW, Miguel Cardona, Lucky Minute, thanks for being a member on YouTube. Sam Patton, Beep Beep, Panda 3000, Tallulah, Abel, Kay Lee, Sea Turtle, Callie Raven, Volley, Cartoon Maps, Apple Tree, Andy Mia, Rachel, Jess, Wendy Lance, John Griffith. Thanks for being members. Tina Marie Berry, Wickedest Witch, Waltham, Sea Chase, Dr. McRib, Pops, Jess, Detective Wisdom, Veronica. Thanks to all of our members and all of our viewers too. Jay Hitchcock, Suzanne Adams, Jacob Lee, Glam Girl Atlanta, Sue Hamilton, Vinnie Williams, Richie Q on Twitch, Sarah Smile, Chelsea Eberhardt. All right, so let's hope we're not back here soon covering the breaking of the ceasefire. Let's hope this holds, the ceasefire. Maybe there'll be a ceasefire at some point we can cover between Israel and Hamas. That would be an even bigger deal, although this is quite a big deal. But will it hold? We'll have to see. All right, guys. So that is it right now. I really appreciate you being with us for our live breaking news coverage of the start of the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. And we will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.